As an American who lives in Ireland, I have been to whiskey distilleries a lot. And in America, we have bourbon. And that's what I'm going to walk you through. I went to Connecticut's biggest bourbon distillery, and Connecticut is very small. Yes, very good. So it's not a big distillery by any stretch, but it is the biggest one in Connecticut, so you should definitely go. And it's called Litchfield. So what's the difference between bourbon and whiskey? Well, first of all, any country can make whiskey. The big ones are, of course, Ireland, Scotland, and Japan. But loads of places make whiskey. But bourbon is stateside only, baby. A bald eagle has to cry in it for it to be bourbon. Sure, let's go with that joke, Hannah. Fine. Also, with whiskey, you can use any grain combination you'd like. Wheat, maize, barley, rye, whatever you have on hand naturally. But bourbon has to be 51% corn, so mostly corn. Then after all the grains are milled up, covered in water, fermented and strained, you throw it into a barrel and you wait a while. And that's for both whiskey and bourbon. For whiskey, any barrel will do. That's how you get a lot of interesting flavor profiles. You could age it in a port wine barrel, an old bourbon barrel, things used to age other things. But for bourbon, it's charred virgin oak barrels. A lot of words. Meaning that the oak barrels that the bourbon is aged in has to have been used only for this barrel. It's fresh wood. Common misconception is that you have to use either American oak or Kentucky oak, but you can use any oak. It's just cheaper to buy domestically. In Irish whiskey, there is a minimum amount of time that you have to age the whiskey for, and that is 3 years and 1 day, because the Scots have a 3-year age requirement. And the Irish are petty. However, in bourbon, there is no age requirement, but it's usually somewhere between 2 and 4 years. And that's because when you char the inside of the oak barrel, it creates some sort of sugar. Science, I don't know. But after 2 to 4 years, the amount of sugars you can extract from the oak to change the flavor of the bourbon, it runs out. So you're left with the same flavor profile, but the alcohol will continue to evaporate, so you'll just get less of it. So there's no point in aging a bourbon more than 4 years. Whereas with a whiskey, you can continue to pull flavors from the wood for a while. Now, I can do a full history of Irish whiskey on my YouTube channel if you'd like to, because there's a whole story there. So let me know if you want that later on. And Litchfield does a few different kinds of bourbon and different flavors, and they're all amazing. I naturally am a basic bitch, so I love a flavored alcohol. And my favorite ones were the vanilla and the cinnamon flavored ones. I didn't end up getting a bourbon, but I did get this maple syrup that has been aged in a bourbon barrel for a while, which is amazing. And I made an apple crumble with it because I'm a genius. Anyway, sláinte. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. Bye bye.